I poured this on my compost, and well, it heated up overnight. The secret to faster, richer compost revealed. Your compost pile can sit for weeks looking lifeless, cold, and stubbornly slow. Then one simple liquid changes everything. What looked like a pile of scraps suddenly turns warm, active, and full of life. If your compost has been dragging along, smelling bad, or just refusing to break down, this trick may be the missing piece. For many gardeners, composting starts with excitement and ends with frustration. You layer kitchen scraps, add dry leaves, wait patiently, and still the pile barely shrinks. The reason is simple. Compost needs moisture, microbes, nitrogen and oxygen working together at the same time. When one part is missing, decomposition slows down. That is why pouring the right liquid onto your compost can trigger dramatic results. For the Garden Life family, today we are talking about one of the most effective compost boosters you can use at home: diluted molasses water. Why molasses works like magic in compost. Molasses is rich in natural sugars, trace minerals, and nutrients that feed beneficial microbes. Those microbes are the real workers inside your compost pile. They break down leaves, vegetable scraps, grass clippings, cardboard, and other organic matter into dark, rich compost. When microbes get a quick energy source, they multiply rapidly. More microbes means more heat, faster breakdown, and, well, quicker transformation of waste into fertile soil. That is why gardeners often notice their pile heating up within a day or two after using molasses correctly. Heat is a sign of microbial activity, and active microbes are what you want. The best compost molasses mix. Use unsulfured blackstrap molasses if possible, though regular unsulfured molasses also works well. Mix 2 tablespoons of molasses into 1 gallon of warm water. Stir until fully dissolved. If you're using a watering can, this amount is perfect for a small to medium compost pile. For a larger pile, simply double the recipe and use 4 tablespoons in 2 gallons of water. Warm water helps dissolve the molasses and spreads it evenly through the pile. Now, let's talk about how to apply it for maximum results. Pour the mixture evenly across the compost pile while turning or mixing the materials. This is important, you know, because microbes need oxygen just as much as they need food. If you simply pour it on top and walk away, well, only the upper layer benefits. But when you turn the pile as you pour, the liquid reaches those deeper zones where decomposition often stalls. The compost should feel like a wrung-out sponge after watering, moist but not soaked. If it becomes soggy, air pockets disappear, and honestly, the pile can start smelling bad. After application, just cover the pile lightly with dry leaves, straw, or even cardboard to hold in moisture and warmth. What happened next changed everything. Many gardeners report the same surprising result. A cold pile begins warming up within 24 to 48 hours. Materials that seem frozen in time start softening and shrinking. Dry leaves become damp and flexible. Vegetable scraps disappear faster, and, well, earthy smells replace those sour odours. That sudden change happens because microbial populations explode when conditions improve. Instead of waiting weeks for natural activity to build slowly, you give the pile an immediate energy source. If your compost thermometer is available, you may see temperatures rise into the ideal active composting range of 120 to 150 degrees Fahrenheit. Even without a thermometer, warmth in the center of the pile is a good sign. When to use this trick? This method is especially useful when your compost pile is slow, cool, or inactive. Use it when the pile contains too many dry browns, such as leaves, shredded paper, straw, or cardboard. These carbon-rich materials decompose slowly without microbial support. Use it after adding a fresh batch of materials to kickstart decomposition. Use it during cooler weather, when microbial activity naturally slows. Use it if your pile has stalled halfway through the composting process. So, what else do you need for fast compost? Well, molasses helps, but it isn't magic all by itself. Compost still needs balance. Your pile should always contain a mix of greens and browns. Now, greens include things like kitchen scraps, fresh grass clippings, coffee grounds and plant trimmings. Browns, on the other hand, are things such as dry leaves, shredded cardboard, paper, sawdust and straw. Aim for roughly 2 to 3 parts browns to 1 part greens by volume. Then just keep the moisture consistent and turn the pile regularly. When all these factors combine with that little molasses boost, composting speeds up dramatically. Let's talk about some common mistakes to avoid. First, do not pour straight molasses onto the pile. Thick syrup can clump and honestly attract pests. Always dilute it in water first. And do not overuse it. More is not better. Too much sugar can create imbalance or encourage unwanted fermentation. Also, do not use a waterlogged pile. If your compost is already soggy, add dry browns first and give it a good turn before applying any liquid. And finally, do not ignore airflow. Even the best compost booster can't fix a pile that's packed too tightly with no oxygen. Can you use alternatives? Well, if molasses is unavailable, a small amount of brown sugar dissolved in water can provide some microbial energy, but honestly, molasses is superior because it contains minerals and micronutrients. Finished compost tea or diluted worm-casting tea can also help seed the pile with beneficial organisms. Still, molasses remains one of the cheapest and most effective options for waking up a lazy compost pile. How often should you use it? Once every 2 to 3 weeks is usually enough for most piles. If your compost is already hot and active, you may not need it at all. Think of this as a booster, not a constant feeding schedule. Just watch the pile. If it is warm, shrinking and smelling earthy, it is working perfectly. The bigger reward in your garden, the real transformation, is not just in the compost pile. It shows up later in your soil. Faster compost means more organic matter for your beds, healthier roots, better moisture retention, improved structure, and, well, stronger plants. Vegetables grow with more vigor. Flowers bloom harder. Soil becomes darker, softer, and so much easier to work. What began as a simple pour of diluted molasses becomes a season-long advantage across the entire garden. Sometimes the difference between dead compost and living compost is just one small step. If your pile has been sitting there doing nothing, try the molasses water method and turn it in well. You may be shocked at how quickly things come alive. For more smart, simple gardening secrets that actually work, subscribe to The Garden Life, share this with another gardener, and keep growing something amazing.